This round of the Porsche Esports Carrera Cup, Great Britain heads to one of the most famous racetracks in the world. It is Spa-Francorchamps for race number 9 and 10 of the Porsche Esports Carrera Cup, Great Britain. My name's Connery Maddock. I'll be joined by the wonderful Paul Smith over the course of this afternoon to bring you two, well, seemingly enthralling races. We'll get into them in a little bit, but it's great to be here, Paul, at Spa-Francorchamps. It's going to be our only non-British racetrack on the calendar, so we've hopped across the channel to Belgium, and then we're going to hop straight back. But, you know, what other venue would be appropriate other than Spa-Francorchamps for a quote-unquote foreign visit?
It's one of the best circuits that ever got altered from its old original layout. I think everybody's in agreement with that, and having been there a couple of times myself, I can tell you that it is a spectacular venue to go along and to watch motorsport. And these drivers, they are challenged by this circuit, and they're also challenged by the fact that they're all on the same fixed setup here in this championship. So it's all about the driver's skill out there here today.
Yep, and absolutely everyone knows Spa-Francorchamps. You know, even from 3-digit iRating all the way up into over 10k, you know, you generally know what to do when you're at Spa-Francorchamps. So that's what's going to be making things so close here. Is you know, everyone knows exactly how to race this racetrack, so the times are going to be very condensed. We've also got the fact that there's a little bit of a draft lock going on, maybe not so much in these cars than the previous version of the 911 GT3 Cup car. However, it is still in effect. But we are, of course, in the second half of the season here, race number 9 and race number 10 here on the 12th of March. And then after this, we've got 3 rounds to go. We head back to Silverstone for the national layout in a couple of weeks' time. And then we head to Donington Park. And then we get our grand final at Brands Hatch. So that is a lot to look forward to here today, Paul, as we take a look at the format.
Yeah, certainly plenty to look forward to, and speaking of looking forward to, this is what we're up to here. So the drivers have just gone out in an open qualifying, 20-minute qualifying, and drivers will be desperate to grab a hold of a slipstream where they can. We then have race 1, which is 25 minutes in length, with then a 10-minute warm-up between the two of those. Then the second race of the afternoon, with the top 6 results from race number 1 being inverted for the grid for race number 2. So definitely things to look out for. Of course, there's your point structure as well. Different points for the Pro and Am. So do keep an eye on that, and also 2 points for pole position. So it'll be crucial for championships out there. Will those points, because coming into the second half of the season, Connor, it has been very much Sebastian Job on top.
It absolutely has, but he hasn't been absolutely faultless, has he? So, and you know, it's best exemplified by the previous 2 race 2s that he's had. Both of them, both the latter race of the afternoon, he has scored 0 points, which means that this gap between himself and William Chadwick is a little bit tighter than we would imagine it being at this point in the season if we extrapolated Sebastian Job's fantastic performances throughout. So, for Will Chadwick, though, his task, I feel, Paul, is to start winning races.
Yeah, and that's been a big Achilles heel for Will Chadwick, has been the fact that he's not been able to beat Sebastian in those one-on-one fights on out-and-out pace. So Will, he is the nearest challenger to Sebastian. We've seen those two getting involved in little tussles. I think back to Snetterton, of course, where the two of those duked it out in race number 2, which led to Sebastian finishing outside the points there. Of course, race number 2 seems to be an Achilles heel for Sebastian last time out as well at Oulton Park. But yeah, those pro standings. Matt Emery, it's going to be a long shot for Matt to get to a championship, but he's trying to hang on to 3rd place ahead of Sedgwick and Moon.
Yes, indeed he is. So it's going to be an interesting fight there for 3rd on back. Let's take a look at the AM standings, though, because we have a new leader coming into today. It's going to be Gareth Higgins, 63 points. He's ahead of Leo Gariboli and, of course, Luke Pennington there down in 3rd. Gareth Higgins has been absolutely exemplary over the last 2 race weekends, Paul, because he's got double 10-point finishes in both of them. You know, getting himself on that podium, which is very, very, very surprising from what we would consider to be an AM driver.
Yeah, absolutely. He's really exemplified and shown what ability that he's got. He's got a hang of the setup, it appears, and also really has got one over Leo Gariboli, who has had I don't know what it is, but the last 2 rounds at Snetterton and at Oulton Park have just not been his thing. Luke Pennington, now that's a driver who has shown plenty of pace. He got a race win in AM last time out at Oulton in race number 1, but he's just been consistency is what's been struggling for this season. Jamie Rushworth, he's been sort of in and thereabouts, just scoring points after what he would consider a poor start to the season.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Lots to look forward to in both your championships today. Remember, we have both these championships running concurrently between the pro drivers and, of course, between the AM drivers, but they all share a track here in the Porsche Esports Carrera Cup, Great Britain. So it's interesting sometimes how they negotiate those sorts of situations when they know they're in separate championships. However, enough of myself and Paul. We get to hear a little bit from Urban Chick, who's going to take us through how to do a lap at Spa.
What's up, guys? My name is Jacob, or better known as Banik, and I am the driver of the number 39 Porsche 992 GT3 Cup car for MAG Performance, and welcome to the 5th track walk of the Porsche Esports Carrera Cup Great Britain Championship at Spa. There is not much to say about Spa that people don't already know, but with the fast straights and the fast corners, we'll be seeing some of the highest average speeds of the whole championship. With that being said, also the slower corners will be challenging in their own right, especially the last chicane where you are just struggling to get grip every single time you go. The start should be typical Spa drama as well, as there will be drivers who are going to try and go 2-3 wide into the first corner, but then are going to quickly scramble to get into a single file line for Eau Rouge, as no one will want to be going too wide there. Please join me now as I take you for a guided lap of Spa-Francorchamps.
Guys, and now for a lap at Spa.
Here, into the first corner, we're going to be braking right before the 100. Going into first gear, trying to reach the apex as soon as possible and getting a good exit. Into a rouge, we're going to go flat. Also want to keep us tight onto the apex, but you want to hit the inside apexes as well without getting the 1x. Here, braking right before the 100 as well. Into third gear, want to keep as far right as possible so that you can have a good run for the next corner. Here, also not fully on throttle as you don't want to run too wide or lose the rear. Here, into this corner, we're going to be going to second gear. As early as possible on throttle. Here as well, not fully on throttle as you don't want to lose the rear, but you want to use as much of the exit as possible. Into P1, going into fourth. Smoothly on throttle as you don't want to run too wide, but also you want to get a good exit. Here, into third, you want to run as wide to the right as possible so that you can have a good run onto this corner on exit. Here, into third as well, just using all of the exit and keeping as tight as possible. And for the exit, you don't want to be fully on throttle or you can lose the rear. So into Blanchiment, going as wide as possible and trying to hit the apex as close as we can. And right before the white line, braking, going down to first gear. And short shifting to second to get as much grip as possible. And guys, that was the lap of Spa-Francorchamps.
Thanks for joining me for the 5th track walk of the Porsche Esports Carrera Cup Great Britain Championship. This track should be a favourite of many of the other drivers, and I hope that we put on a good show. See you guys on the track.
Well, that was a little look on board for a lap with the track guides from Jacob Urbanchik. And of course, he's had a team change very recently as well. He's now a part of Mag Performance SRT from this point forward. So a little bit of a change there. Not the only driver that's had a team change in the middle of the season, Paul.
No, we've had a number of our competitors head on onto pastures new, and wish them all the best with their new outfits throughout the season. I think the most notable, of course, is championship contender Will Chadwick moving over to Altus Esports. So yeah, it's big to see that. And right now we're halfway through qualifying, and all that drivers are doing right now is, because it is a fixed setup series, these drivers started qualifying with race fuel on board. So all they're doing right now is just trying to burn off fuel so that they can really push on towards the end of the qualifying session. You'll see them do maybe 2 flying laps in the final 5 minutes. And don't forget as well, because it is an iRacing heat session here today, it means that once that clock strikes 0, that is it. You do not get to finish your qualifying lap.
Absolutely, same as normal, but of course, you know, people might be joining us that haven't watched previous rounds in the season, so it's worth reiterating that very fact because it works slightly differently when you have a heat racing session here with the open qualifying. So drivers will be well aware of that. They've experienced this so many times so far this season, so it's going to be not a problem. We've got our guest driver here at the moment, Rainford, in the number 99 car. Classified as pro, at least according to the colour code on the timing tower. However, he's definitely putting in a pro performance here for the moment, at least in qualifying. But remember, there are a lot of unrepresentative lap times out there for the moment as drivers try to burn off that fuel that you mentioned, and more importantly, do the fuel burning without putting too much energy into the tyres.
Yeah, absolutely. It's worth pointing out as well that Charles Rainford caught a little bit of the ire of our championship leader, Sebastian Job, after the first lap of race 2 at Alton Park last time out. So he is a guest to the series, but Sebastian not too pleased that somebody who is a guest driver getting involved in a championship fight.
Well, they're out there to race. That's my argument. Like, they're out there to race amongst a lot of you. If like, you know, would it be the same situation? Would it be a different situation if it was another pro driver that may not be in the championship, but they're actually, you know, fighting for their own points and things like that? You have to race with what you've been given, and if it just so happens that there's a guest driver in front of you, well, if you can't pass them, then who are you to complain?
I'm completely the same. You know, at the end of the day, you're all competing in the same race. You're all taking part in that, and therefore, you know, you're all entitled to race each other on that track. But yeah, Sebastian wasn't too happy with that, and it allowed our driver in second place, Will Chadwick, in the championship just to catch up again. You know, it was 2 weeks in a row that Will Chadwick just able to catch up just a little bit. It's not panic stations at the moment for Sebastian, but with this track being a Grand Prix venue, it's nice and wide for these drivers, long straights, a few overtaking opportunities out there as well. So I'm sure they'll all find a way of meeting each other on the same piece of asphalt though still.
Will Chadwick still trying to manage the field situation, so he's just going to let a lot of these other drivers by on the way down in towards La Source. New provisional pole position sitter of Josh Malin, though, so that's the number 90 going to the very top of the order, but the order doesn't exactly matter all that much here at the moment, as we'll see a lot of these very fast lap times come in towards the very end of the session. Going back to the incident and the situation that we saw with Sebastian Job, though, it makes the situation slightly more interesting, considering that the incident that he did have with Rainford in that previous race, that was his fault, if you ask me, you know, because he committed around the outside, going through Island Bend, at Alton Park, and just, you know, expecting the car on the inside to yield, and you just can't run with that assumption.
Well, the stewards actually disagreed with you there, Conor, because the stewards found Rainford at fault. You know, we've got to go by what the referee says, and the referee said it was Rainford at fault, so he got a time penalty. So that's what happened there last time out. But yeah, it's when you're involved in a championship fight, and Sebastian Job knows how to win championships, not just this series, but also the Porsche Esports Super Cup as well. So he knows what it takes to win a championship, and I think it was just because Alton Park is so difficult to overtake at, that he was desperate to try and make up those places in the early going.
Yeah, so important. And, well, if you can make up the places in qualifying, then that would be a beneficial situation here, at least to get yourself to set the grid for race 1. So we've just got under 4 minutes, or under 5 minutes, excuse me, left to go. A lot of drivers still on slow laps here at the moment. So sort of coming towards the next one, maybe the one after, if they're quick about it. That's when we'll start to see the flying laps develop. But we've touched on this before. Go on, John, Paul.
I was just going to say, those drivers who are around this part of the track now, they're only going to get one more run at this. You know, Sebastian set a really good marker at the front of the field of 2:18.3. That, if we looked at practice times, you know, that would be quicker than any of the practice times. So if they're coming round to this part of the track now, starting a lap, yeah, you're talking 2 minute 18 laps as Jamie Moon now goes second. So they're only going to get one chance at this now.
That's the risk I was going to bring up, because I brought it up last time out as well, where you're really putting all your chips on that one lap at the very end of the session. It's effectively a one-lap qualifying. However, what I see Sebastian Job has done here for the moment, he's got a little bit of a banker in. He's taken this lap now as a little bit of a slow lap, and then he'll have enough time to get to the line to get another flying lap in, will Sebastian Job. So that's an interesting situation there. So he's definitely feeling very, very confident in his abilities, and why shouldn't he, considering the race wins and all the accolades he has to his name already. We're having a look at Leo Gariboli, who was the fastest AM driver in practice, so things looking pretty good for him, especially considering his recent form hasn't been the most ideal. And of course, he's in that direct fight for the AM Championship League with Gareth Higgins, who currently is starting ahead of him, but we know how much things can change by the time this session's done.
So by my reckoning, Craig Williams will be the last driver who can get a lap time completed. Everybody else now will be on their final laps here, so these laps do all count at this point. But you're absolutely right there, Connor. You know, Leo, he needs to change that form. Your momentum is a really big thing, and you can start getting in your own head if you have a run of bad results. So Leo just needs to keep focused and get himself a good result here.
Indeed, we're on board with him just for a couple of moments there as he focuses on trying to get his lap down. Has a little bit of a sort of drafting partner ahead, a little bit further down the road. It's not a massive effect in these cars, though. I did touch on it on the top of the show. It was much stronger, I feel, in the older versions of the Porsche 911 GT3 Cup car. In this 992, it doesn't seem to be as much of a factor that is significant in any way. However, you still have to take it into account, and it will allow you potentially to make moves down into places like Lacombe and down in towards the bus stop as well. But Jack Cedric in the number 10 heading his way across the line, currently 10th in the order. Gonna bump himself all the way up to start 4th place. That's his qualifying going to be done. He won't be able to make it back around. Here comes Leo Gariboli, then across the line he comes up into 4th place. Great stuff there from the number 89. Is there going to be a response though from other AM drivers further down? There's Will Chadwick then, needs, or rather prefers, a pole position here. What's the tap time going to be? It's going to be a 1:19.2, which is not going to be enough, unfortunately, and that is by far not enough. He starts all the way down in P7 there. That is not an ideal situation for Chadwick. Yes, he told us before the broadcast wall that he has been out of practice here at Spa-Francorchamps for this race. I didn't really expect him to be that out of practice, though.
Yeah, that really is a massive, massive blow for him for his championship. He is Sebastian Job, though, the championship leader. He doesn't need to finish this lap, in my opinion. I think he could park the car and still be on pole position, but here he is across the line. Oh, look at that time, 2:18.1. Fantastic stuff from Sebastian. And Jamie Moon is second with Matt Emery up into 3rd now.
Yeah, Moon up into the podium, spots well in the front row of the starting grid even. Emery, like you mentioned, doing a very good job as well, but there's a wide spread towards the very front of the order. Let's just say that it's over half a second between Sebastian Job and, or rather just under half a second between Sebastian Job and Jamie Moon here for the moment. So that is a rift at a track such as this. But yeah, it's surprising seeing Will Chadwick start from so far down. Leo Gariboli was able to get himself just a grid spot ahead of Gareth Higgins, though. So that is going to be important in terms of the AM Championship there with the track position. But let's take a look at a few of our drivers getting themselves ready for the race. You can, of course, see the Leo Gariboli in the top left-hand side there. I think my hair is longer, so I've got that up on him. We've got Will Chadwick in the middle right as well. Let's see what he can do, starting from a couple of rows back. Let's have a look then at the starting grid. We got Sebastian Job on pole position by, well, let's just round it up, shall we? Half a second to Jamie Moon. Moon putting in a fantastic qualifying time to be able to put it on that front row of the grid, but it's still a rift and shows the difference in class between Sebastian Job and pretty much everyone else. Then you've got Matt Emery starting in P3 with Josh Malin starting in 4th. Then you got Team PGZ's Leo Gariboli starting in P5. That's the top AM driver for this race start. Then you've got Jack Cedric for Inex Racing, number 10 in 6th. Gareth Higgins, our AM Championship leader, will start in P7 with Will Chadwick starting in P8 in the Altus Esports number 88. So narrowly P8. If you gain a couple hundredths of a second, you would have been ahead of Higgins, but that's not the situation that arose. So let's see how many overtakes Will Chadwick can pull off over the course of this race, if any. We've got Charles Rainford there in P number 9. Absolutely fantastic to see the real-world driver. Of course, he was the 2022 Porsche Carrera Cup GB Pro-Am champion. So a lot of real-world experience being brought to the sim racing side of things. Then you got Ollie Peacock there in 10th place with Thomas Cope in P11. Luke Pennington will start in 12th. Then you got Scott Merckx in the P13 with Jamie Rushworth P14, Adam State in P15 with Brandon Blakesley rounding out the top 16 drivers there in the ATRS esports machine. Then you've got James Parker in P17 with Jacob Irpinchik, our track guide and new driver for Mag Performance SRT. And then you've got Leon Penn in P19, Eric Grove P20, and driver that did not set themselves a time, that's Craig Williams down in P21. So drivers slowly but surely getting themselves ready and prepped for the hard charge down in towards turn number 1, which will be La Source here today. Of course, we are using the standard sort of Formula 1 style Grand Prix pits here. We're not starting on the classic pits with turn 1 being Eau Rouge, which is always very, very sketchy, but I'm not sure that La Source is that much better in terms of instance. So we're going to see how careful the drivers are or not heading down in towards that hairpin for the first time here. Great opportunity to gain positions, but at the same time, you can lose all of your effort there as well. This is going to be race number 9 of the championship for the Porsche Esports Carrera Cup. Great Britain, it's Sebastian Job on pole position. P2 in the championship, starting in P8. Engine notes rise, we're off for the way down in towards La Source, finding out immediately there is a poor start from Matt Emery, who takes it 3 wide for P2 in towards La Source. Emery's able to hold on in the inside, a little bit of door-to-door contact between Malin and Moon. Coming off the corner though, as they start to descend the hill in towards Eau Rouge and Radion for the first time. Let's see how this one works out. Front of the field, single file, someone's been pushed into the grass at the very back there, able to rejoin, but the big instant towards the rear of the field as the rest of the pack get themselves onto the Kemmel Straight now. Sebastian Job already pulling a gap as Jamie Moon tries to get progress back on Josh Malin, because Moon had an awful start. Side by side over P2. Malin's overcommitted. He has to take the shortcut across the grass. Careful with the rejoin as well. Everyone scatters to try and avoid it, but Malin might have a severe slowdown penalty from that.
It was Brandon Blakesley who got pushed onto the grass in towards Eau Rouge and Radion, so that's what happened to him. But yeah, big moment. That was a bit of a hope and pray move then from Moon to try and get the move around the outside. You can do it into the Lacombe chicane, but yeah, so far you're absolutely right there, Connery, in your commentary there. Straight away, Sebastian Job has pulled out a heck of a gap at the front of the field, but things are just starting to settle themselves down into single file right now.
Gap stands already 1.3 seconds between P1 and P2. That is incredible. From Sebastian Job in the 22 Oracle Red Bull Racing esports car. It's, you know, if he's able to put in a couple more laps like this first one, then I think the rest of the field can say bye-bye to a race 1 win already. Well, let's not speak too soon. We still haven't gotten this first lap complete just yet, but Matt Emery in 2nd place with Jamie Moon in 3rd. Then you got Jack Cedric in 4th. Top AM driver, still Leo Gariboli, and actually puts a good couple of pro drivers between himself and Gareth Higgins here in the early goings as well. So as we get ourselves in towards the bus stop at the very end of the lap, a couple of signs of moves being made, but no side-by-sides just yet, all single file through there. Currently, the main thing that I'm looking at is Charles Rainford, currently defending from Gareth Higgins, of course. Higgins needs to make progress pretty soon to get up to the championship rival in AM.
He certainly does, and he lost positions at the start, did Higgins. Round the outside of Rainford at La Source. Oh, wow, nicely done there from Gareth. He's been on real rich vein of form, has Gareth. Now, he is 2nd place in AM, and he will get 2nd place points for AM in where he finishes now. But the benefit that Leo Gariboli has got right now, with him actually, Cedric has got a slow down penalty up the Kemmel Straight. The benefit that Gariboli has right now in having those pro drivers between him and Gareth Higgins is that it makes it harder for Higgins to overtake Gariboli and to get 1st place in AM.
Chadwick's improved positions up into 6th place, so he's got a couple passed already. Meanwhile, further back, we just had a bit of a moment. There's the side-by-side. There's Luke Peddington going down the inside of Charles Rainford here, and Rainford is going to have a bit of trouble here because Urbanschick's been able to stick his nose in there as well. There's a slight bit of door-to-door contact through the middle of the corners. They head into speakers now. Urbanschick all the way out there, teasing with the track limits, taking the 1X, but it's not a slowdown, so he can keep himself ahead now and swing his way in towards Pouhon. Now Rainford has to be thinking about Leon Penn as well, who's trying to make progress around the outside. It's not typically a done thing. They're coming through Pouhon, so Penn's going to lose a little bit of ground. There's a dive in behind, though. There's Thomas Cope in the number 64 car, trying to get through on Jamie Rushworth into Lafanya, but is going to be unsuccessful in doing so.
I think we're seeing here with Charles Rainford that he doesn't have that same knowledge as we have a look at what happened to Brendan Blake. So, oh, that was a little bit rude there by the DCW racing car. And wow, well done to Craig Williams in avoiding that one. My goodness, he will have had the shock of a life right now. It's oh, he's okay. No, I'm going to bail out here. Go across, take a monster slowdown penalty going that way. I can tell you that from bitter experience. But to my point about Rainford, I think he's really struggling compared to the last 2 rounds at Snetterton and Alton Park, where he's competed in the Porsche Carrera Cup Great Britain in real life. Here, Spa, he might not have that same level of knowledge as he would at those British circuits, and therefore is down in the pack. But he does seem to be struggling a little bit in the early going. But look at the lead that Sebastian Job has got. My goodness.
2.4 seconds. What else can he say? What else can he say? Sebastian Job stretching his legs. Doesn't seem like anything's a concern for him at the moment. He even gains just a 1/10 of a second or so through Lacombe alone. That's just how good he is. So it's going to have to be a bit of a battle for the best of the rest here, it feels like. He's the on board with Leo Gariboli, though. He has podium positions ahead of him, which wouldn't net him any extra points because the points are divvied out by your class position. However, it just puts more cars in between himself and Higgins.
Yeah, absolutely does, and he'll be looking to get that. I think Jack Sedgwick will be gutted at getting that slowdown penalty through Eau Rouge Radion, which dropped him down to 8th place. But yeah, Higgins, he needs to start moving forward. The problem for him is that there's a gap between the number 23, you see just going through screen now of Ollie Peacock, and Jack Sedgwick. That gap is beyond the slipstream threshold, and so therefore if Higgins did manage to keep with Jack Sedgwick or move ahead of Sedgwick, they're then just punching a hole through the air for everyone else behind them because they're not getting that advantage of the cars in front.
No, they're not, so it becomes a bit of a struggle to get all the way up to Gariboli. However, maybe the plan changes a little bit here for Higgins. Maybe try potentially get up into P6. I know there's that, that significant gap between Chadwick and Peacock here at the moment. However, that might be a slightly more realistic opportunity and try and get that reverse grid for race 2, no?
I think it's going to be a tall order. I think he's got to rely on some slowdown penalties, which are easily picked up around here, especially through Eau Rouge Radion. That's one of those big areas where you can get that slowdown penalty. Just get a little bit of a twitch of the car in the bottom of the hill, and you're having to cut across the runoff and picking up that slowdown penalty, which is what I assume has happened to Jack Sedgwick and dropped him down. But look at the way that the car's having to work their way through here. And I think at the top, you can see them really pushing the track limits a bit beyond what I'm comfortable with. I feel that there should be getting at least 2 wheels over that white line, but that's just me. But I think what you're seeing at the front with Sebastian Job right now is the experience from contact between the two of those. What's your rejoin? Able to carry on as Urbanschick and Rushworth around the outside nicely. But yeah, Sebastian Job, I was about to say, his experience around here in the Porsche Esports Super Cup will count a lot towards this round of the championship.
Yeah, been here many times in that championship as we get a little bit of a replay here between Urbanchik and Penn. So Penn forcing Urbanchik a little bit wide there, and Urbanchik having to deal with Rushworth going around the outside, that's actually a pretty neat move there from Rushworth. Great opportunity that he was given on a silver platter, but he still had to really work for that and go for a slightly risky move on the outside of Malmedy. There's a dive on the inside of Lafania. Urbanchik spins the driver of Jamie Rushworth out into the runoff, and now Rushworth has to take an escapade across the grass as well. That's a move that's not on, unfortunately, down into there.
That was ambitious. Very ambitious indeed was that move. That was never on. And Rushworth was always going to be the innocent bystander getting wiped out there. He has kept going as Rushworth was down to 19th. Here we go, on board. I mean, you're a long way back here. I'm sorry, that's... if I'm the stewards, I'll be having a long talk, in my personal opinion.
He's
not onside. He's too far back to him, especially at that point in the track. It's not a long braking zone. If that's going into the chicane at the end of the lap, and that car in front is braking just that little bit earlier than you, because it's a much slower corner, then yes, absolutely that move is on. But because of the speed that you carry, it's just not on as that one.
Yeah, the reason why I made that noise is that potentially this is the only excuse that Urbanchik could use, that he maybe didn't have a sight on his braking marker. You know, that is literally the only excuse you could probably pull out of the bag, but I don't think any excuse would stop him from getting a penalty in that situation. So yeah, I do agree with you there, Paul. But we're looking back from Josh Malin here at the moment. P6, so this is reverse grid pole position. That's potentially up for grabs here. Ollie Peacock putting in a good couple of laps there and really reeling in Malin, and might get himself an opportunity to sit on that reverse grid pole.
Yeah, Peacock has been quite rapid actually in 7th place. 19.7 last time by compared to Malin's 20.5. So Peacock has got the bit between his teeth, and more importantly has got that slipstream. The thing that's helping Malin, of course, is that he's got the slipstream of Will Chadwick in front. So they all end up in this little bit of a slipstream train. It's a trolley train of sorts here, and it's headed by Jamie Moon, but it certainly helps you out if you're the back car to try and pull yourself up to the car in front.
It really does. So you can, well, you want to take every single little bit of assistance that is available to you. So it's going to be very interesting to see how that battle develops there for P6. Could be one of our flashpoints over the course of this race. Sebastian Job still leads, of course. There he is in the Oracle Red Bull Racing Esports car. Number 22. Being ever dominant in this race. You know, he's not gaining as much per lap as he was, but it's still a rift that is growing lap by lap back to Jamie Moon. So, yeah, this is Sebastian Job in managing the gap mode.
And that's all you need to do. I mean, he's just gained 3.5 tenths on that last lap alone. So, you know, that's all you need to do when you're that far in front, at the front, where you've not got the slipstream helping out the cars behind. You just manage that gap, you manage that lead. You don't push the car to 10 tenths, go 9 tenths, and just keep yourself within the car's limit, so you know that if you need to, if the car behind makes a run on you, you can then respond and just keep that gap in front. But he's doing a sterling job, is Sebastian, no pun intended. And don't forget as well, he did win the main race at Long Beach just last week in the Porsche Esports Super Cup. So he's got a bit of form now.
Indeed he did. So looking absolutely fantastic there for Sebastian Job, especially when his nearest championship rival is currently down in 5th place. So growing the gap right now by a significant margin. Back to Chadwick. Here's the battle for P12 though. Urbanchik, Rainford, State, Cope, Mokes, all involved in this one in some form or fashion. Of course, Rainford has lost a lot of positions from the start here. He started in P9, currently resides down in P13. We saw a lot of those positions be lost on the live pictures, in fact, but It's not been fantastic in terms of the race pace here for Rainford, but still keeping himself in contention. It's still a solid mid-pack finish here at the moment, with positions potentially on offer if you can get past Urbanjik, who's been doing a little bit of a bumper banging so far this race. You can see the positions gained a lot. Well, those weren't accurate positions gained a lot on the left side, because things get a little bit confused when you have multiple classes in the same race.
Yeah, you can sort of look at those positions per class.
Yes.
And so Rainford, yes, he has lost 2 places in class. However, he's lost more positions than that in this race. But this is what I love about this series, is that you've got that mix of driver ability, and it does give people in the AM Championship something to fight for, and it really keeps those drivers invested in the series. That was a nice move by Thomas Cope and Adam State, but as I say, it keeps those drivers invested in the championship. It keeps them well involved in the series, and helps keep us going forward and giving us some tremendous racing.
It does. In this battle, though, one Olympus Esports car through on Adam State. Here's the second one of Scott Mokes in the number 7. That looks to do the exact same thing, albeit this is going to be for actual points-paying positions, at least for the category, because of course Thomas Cope got past Adam State. That doesn't change the points for either of those two. However, if Mokes get past State, then that's going to be a change there. There's Charles Rainford and Urbanjik actually going wheel to wheel on the left-hand side of your screen, having a little bit of a swap around in that situation. And actually, they're continuing to battle here. Coming through, they're coming in towards Malmedy here. Oh, you got to be so careful as the car on the inside there to not track out too much. Rainford going for the defense immediately. Thomas Cope kind of trying to crack the gap open, and perhaps he's done it a little bit too physically, as Urbanjik has half spin and contact with cars coming through.
Again, I think that the roles are now reversed on Urbanjik, because he gets that little tag from the car behind that was just not fully alongside, and there's the move. It's a bit of a late move, and you're not going to make that move down the inside there, Thomas. And Adam State, the innocent party, getting a boatload of damage to the side of his car, but Urbanjik getting a little bit of a taste of his own medicine from what he did to Rushworth earlier on. But Sedgwick, he's on that charge back. We've seen him move past Ollie Peacock, but they have got nearly 2 seconds now back to Josh Malin.
Yeah, a little bit of eye for an eye there, but the full phrase is an eye for an eye makes the whole world blind, so don't apply it to your real life. But yeah, I think everything's kind of made equal there in that situation. But well, for 7th place, of course, we've had this change around a little bit, because Ollie Peacock has lost position there due to, we didn't quite see what happened, may have been due to mistake, maybe a slowdown penalty being in effect there potentially as well. Just saying a little bit of swapping around. What's happened back there down by the top 15? Well, we've got cars off on the way down in towards the bus stop. James Parker is involved in it, and if I remember, maybe Urbanjik also was off the circuit as well. Let's have a look at the replay.
That's like, into the back there. Parker's just all locked up, and as soon as you lock up those tyres, the car's not going to stop, no matter how hard you press the brake pedal. Mokes just goes off himself, I think. I think maybe he's had to avoid State. He got late onto the brakes, had to avoid State, and then took to the runoff there. Do you know what? I remember once seeing a car go through the marshal's post at the end of that runoff to cut back onto the track rather than turning back on itself. And it was quite a scary moment, actually, I will say. And obviously the driver got a very, very long telling off, that's for sure.
A lot of cars having a bit of, off-track excursions, shall we say, over the past couple of moments, because we just saw Thomas Cope have a bit of an issue. Let's see how this exactly happens. He's trying to go around the outside of Rainford into the comb, and just a little bit of contact in the middle of the corner forces Cope to take the escape road, and he actually has to go all the way and take the escape road as well. So that's, two situations where Olympus Esports cars have had problems, just in different ways at different parts of the circuit.
And that was a situation where he's tried to go around the outside and has just turned in that little bit too early, got into the side of Rainford, and that just unsettles his car. He has to carry on through that runoff, so that's why you saw him just straighten up the wheel and immediately head for the runoff. But still, Moon, this battle for second place, Moon, Emery, Garibaldi and Chadwick. Chadwick has not been able to get past Leo Garibaldi. Matt Emery is still loitering with intent on Jamie Moon.
Yeah, personally, if I was Garibaldi here, I would let the pros fight it amongst themselves. You've got a significant gap back to Gareth Higgins now, on the order of 5-6 seconds. So letting Chadwick through is not going to be a massive situation in terms of that AM championship. So that's personally what I would do if I was Garibaldi at the moment. But then again, I don't have anywhere near the I rating in these guys. I'm not racing in this race, so I'm not sure how much my decision would be valued. But we'll see what happens on the way down the Kemmel Straight then. Is Garibaldi going to make it easy for Chadwick, or is it going to be a bit more of a fight on the way in towards Lacombe? No, so Chadwick actually just sits in behind here just for the moment.
Our producer, Arjuna Kankapati, of course my co-commentator for all the Porsche Esports Super Cup, makes a very good point actually. If I'm Leo Garibaldi, I'd rather start second on the grid than third, which is where he will be starting if he finishes where he is now. So yeah, let Will go. Let him have his own fight with Emery and Moon.
Yeah, so yeah, more factors to bring in there for Garibaldi. So like I said, I wouldn't be surprised if he just lets Chadwick through. I'm surprised he actually didn't let him through down the end of the Kemmel Straight that time around. But maybe there's another thing that Garibaldi's thinking about, and maybe doesn't have the full picture. But less than 5 minutes left to go now. Sebastian Job 3.4 seconds is his lead here for the moment. So we can definitely count that as a little bit of a shoe-in, as long as he can keep on the grey stuff, which he, to be fair, does tend to do. He doesn't tend to make a solo car instance, touch wood. But it does seem like the excitement that we will get, potentially, will be for the rest of the podium positions if they get themselves in a position where they can actually make a lunge.
I think Jamie Moon actually has a handle on second place. He's got that edge over Matt Emery right now, and he seems to be the next quickest in terms of drivers setting lap times. I mean, his last lap was actually quicker than Sebastian Job's lap time for Moon. So, you know, Moon's keeping a good pace here. Well, Sebastian now on this lap has just shown me up with that comment. But Emery, though, lost a 1/10.5 compared to Moon, and he's lost about 3/10 to Leo Garibaldi. So Garibaldi's on a bit of a charge right now. He can sniff a podium here. And here was us talking about letting Will Chadwick through.
Well, want to go for glory, finishing on the podium, even though it might hurt you in terms of starting position for race 2. I mean, I won't judge it. But on the way down the Kemmel Straight, once again, you can see them just trying to keep inside with each other's slipstream. None of them going to be close enough to make any sort of move down in towards here just yet. But we are getting very, very late on in the race now. We've got, of course, Sebastian Job. He's just about getting his way through Bruxelles now. So this is the penultimate lap here of the Porsche Esports Carrera Cup Great Britain. This is round number 9. We'll have round number 10 shortly after this one. And we'll get that reverse grid in effect as well. But still a little bit of an unknown regarding how this podium is going to turn out, because Garibaldi he's pushing hard, to be fair. He's not just sort of giving Emery a little bit of a break, just dropping back. He's actually gapping Chadwick now at this stage.
Yeah, Will got the big book of racing driver excuses out very early on for us, and he's just not able to keep to the pace of these drivers right now. So yeah, definitely he's struggling at the back of this group. Leo Garibaldi, I would say he's got the bit between his teeth, but he's very calm, very emotionless, which is exactly how you should race. You know, you shouldn't be really emotional when you're racing, because it's wasted energy. And so you definitely you have to really sort of keep keep your emotions in check and just stay calm, cool and collected, and that keeps you at pace. Now, Josh Malin, he has dropped back here, Connery, and he is under pressure for 6th place. Oh, Garibaldi!
Oh, look at that. Garibaldi making the forceful move through on Emery, and now Emery's going to be coming under attack from Chadwick here. They make contact coming down the straight there on the brakes in towards La Source. Pretty sure that was unintentional between the two of them, but that was a bit sketchy. Chadwick is through on Emery, so gains a couple more points there in terms of Pro Championship. Emery might not let this one go too quickly. He'll have a run potentially through Eau Rouge and through Radion as well. We do have to maintain an awareness of that battle for P6, which will be the reverse grid pole position, of course, as well. But now, down the Kemmel Straight for the final time. You can see the weaving going on at the very front of the field. There's a move being made for P6 as well on the way down the straight. And there's a run for Cedric here. Half a car length clear, but Malin's going to fight him back. Goes deep on the brakes on the inside. There's a switchback move available for Jack Cedric around the outside of the second apex, and he's got it. Does Malin get the run off the corner through Malmedy? Yes, he does. So down in towards the downhill braking zone of Bruxelles now. Ollie Peacock's on the outside looking into this as we have the onboard with him very, very briefly indeed. This is a titanic fight here from reverse grid pole position. Mainly on the inside for Speaker's corner. Going to have a little bit of a compromise run coming off there. So Peacock, if he's tempted, might have a line in towards Pouon, but it's not typically an overtaking point. But what a move into Lacombe, though, for Jack Cedric. Just allowing Malin to outbrake himself and compromise his exit so he can sweep through on the second apex.
Tip of the hat to Jack Cedric there. That was sensational. But this isn't over yet. This is not over, not yet by a long shot. You know, Malin is right there in that slipstream. Oh, he just makes a mistake on the exit of Fania, which gives Cedric just that little bit of a breathing space. But yeah, those drivers, they've been given us a tremendous race towards the end. But one driver who's had a quiet Sunday afternoon drive, he's had his slippers and dressing gown on, is Sebastian Job.
Absolutely, a simply sensational performance for the number 22, Oracle Red Bull Racing Esports. It's Sebastian Job heading his way across the line for an emphatic win here in race number 9 of the championship. Fantastic stuff from Sebastian Job. No changes further back though. Battle inside, just outside of the top 6 there. Also potentially going on, Malin having a big tank slapper coming out of the corner, but he will have the legs to get it to the line. Cedric though, P6, reverse grid pole position after the pass at the start of the final lap there. Great stuff from the NX driver. Malin narrowly missing out in terms of that one. But yeah, that got a little bit chaotic back there, didn't it?
Oh, it was absolutely crazy towards the back there. That was sensational stuff, but certainly gave us a bit of excitement on that last lap, and that's generally what happens around here. If you've got a bunch of cars together, they will all duke it out to be able to get themselves the best result possible.
Let's have a look at the unofficial race results. Of course, this is all pending steerage review, as they tend to do things after proceedings here this afternoon. But it is Sebastian Job taking the race win by rounding it up 4.3 seconds back to Jamie Moon. And then it's Leo Garibaldi getting himself on the podium here in this first race at Spa-Francorchamps. Fantastic efforts there. It's not his first podium of the season either. He had one earlier on in the season, as we see William Chadwick there in P4, which is a good improvement compared to where he started. But like I said at the top of the show, he needs to start winning races, and unfortunately that was near an impossibility here today in race 1. We got Matt Emery in P5 with Jack Cedric P6, so Jack Cedric starting pole position for the next event. Then you've got Josh Malin, Ollie Peacock, Gareth Higgins, our second place sound driver, down in P9, and then you've got Leon Penn in P10. Luke Pennington will finish on 11th with Thomas Cope in 12th, Charles Rainford in P13 with Adam State in 14th, Scott Mokes 15th, Urban Jake 16th. Then you've got Craig Williams in 17th place, James Parker in P18, Rushworth and Blakesley round out the top 20. And then we've got one more car as a retirement. Is going to be Eric Grove there, who actually did not take the start. He did qualifying, but he did not take the start there for Pure Sims. So that's the top to bottom in terms of the unofficial results here, and actually we already have one standing by for an interview here. We've got Leo Garibaldi that you're going to be talking to, Paul.
Yeah, absolutely. Leo, congratulations. Not only an AM win, but a podium as well for yourself. You must be delighted.
Yeah, it's a lot better than what I've had so far. The first two went really well, and it just went downhill from there for... I don't know really why, but I put the time back in, and it seems to pay off. So,
and that's it. You know, it's about changing those fortunes. You can get a bit of a rut if you don't sort of get things in order. So, is it just purely that you've been able to just put that bit of extra time in that's given you that edge here this week?
I mean, I was literally grinding the whole day doing this. I was prepping with people in servers. I was with some of the Apex guys, doing race stints. We're just racing each other, things like that. I did a bunch of quali things constantly. I did about 5 different race stints. I don't think I did as much as that for the other tracks. I just couldn't really get the time. So,
well, we'll look forward to the second race now, because that does mean that you're going to be starting in 4th place. What do you think are your chances going into the second race of the day?
I would prefer to be on the inside, which I think I am actually. I beat someone at the end. Oh no, never mind, I can't read. So yeah, P4, so I'll be on the outside, that's the only thing. I prefer the inside here going into turn 1, just simply because you just run the risk of someone going straight into you, but so long as I get a good start, I should be okay. And then I can just do the same thing I did last time, just here.
Well, Leo, we'll let you go and get yourself prepared for that second race. Congratulations.
Okay, thank you to the sponsors, thank you to Cameron, thank you to PGZ.
Having to get them in at the end there, Paul. Yeah. Not the sponsors by name, just my sponsors. But I can forgive it. He has a lot to focus on here coming in towards race number 2. Considering, yes, podium finish. Yeah, it didn't get him any extra points, but maybe a bit of extra glory, a bit of extra bragging rights. But it does actually hit his starting position coming in towards race 2 here. Puts him just a little bit closer to Gareth Higgins, who we know is capable of some really fantastic racing. So if they start a little bit closer together than they were, and Higgins can get a bit of a better start than he did in race 1, because remember, he did lose some positions off the start, then we might see an interesting situation there for the AM class win.
Yeah, we really could see things turn around for that AM class, but to be honest, if the racing driver in me would say, you want the glory, you want the podium, you want to be stood there legitimately on pace, not just oh, and here's the AM winner, so that you want to be there on pace. So yeah, definitely well done to Leo, taking advantage of a situation that came up in front of him. But Sebastian Job, he had a nice quiet race, really, didn't he?
Yeah, he did, and you know, he's obviously going to start in P6 now, so it's going to be a little bit more of an active race for Sebastian Job. I remember back to those 2 previous race 2s that he has scored 0 points in, you know, largely due to getting involved in incidents with other drivers. He's got to hope that he doesn't have that same sort of situation happen again, because otherwise all his hard work in race number 1 is just going to be pretty much wiped out, and depending on how far the order Chadwick can finish, then the status quo is maybe maintained, but in worst case scenario, maybe the gap closes even a little bit more.
I think Sebastian will be going to the second half of the season with a sensible head on and just thinking championship points now. Just accumulate those points and manage that lead at the front of your standings.
So before we get into race number 2 here, we will have an additional look at Jacob Irwinchik's track guide, just to see how the drivers work their way around here of this famous racetrack at Spa.
What's up guys, my name is Jacob, or better known as Banik, and I am the driver of the number 39 Porsche 992 GT3 Cup car for MAG Performance, and welcome to the 5th track walk of the Porsche Esports Carrera Cup Great Britain Championship at Spa. There is not much to say about Spa that people don't already know, but with the fast straights and the fast corners, we'll be seeing some of the highest average speeds of the whole championship. But with that being said, also the slower corners will be challenging in their own right, especially the last chicane, where you are just struggling to get grip every single time you go. The start should be typical Spa drama as well, as there will be drivers who are going to try and go 2-3 wide into the first corner, but then are going to quickly scramble to get into a single file line for Eau Rouge, as no one will want to be going too wide there. Please join me now as I take you for a guided lap of Spa-Francorchamps.
Guys, and now for a lap at Spa. Here into the first corner, we're going to be braking right before the 100, going into first gear, trying to reach the apex as soon as possible and getting a good exit. Into Eau Rouge, we're going to go flat. Also want to keep us tight onto the apex, but you want to hit the inside apexes as well without getting the 1x. Here, braking right before the 100 as well. Into third gear. Want to keep as far right as possible so that you can have a good run for the next corner. Here, also not fully on throttle, as you don't want to run too wide or lose the rear. Here into this corner, we're going to be going to second gear. As early as possible on throttle. Here as well, not fully on throttle, as you don't want to lose the rear, but you want to use as much of the exit as possible. Into P1, going into fourth. Smoothly on throttle, as you don't want to run too wide, but also you want to get a good exit. Here into third, you want to run as wide to the right as possible so that you can have a good run onto this corner on exit. Here into third as well, just using all of the exit and keeping as tight as possible. And for the exit, you don't want to be fully on throttle or you can lose the rear, so going as wide as possible and trying to hit the apex as close as we can. And right before the white line, braking, going down to first gear, and short shifting to second to get as much grip as possible. And guys, that was the lap of Spa-Francorchamps.
Thanks for joining me for the 5th track walk of the Porsche Esports Carrera Cup Great Britain Championship. This track should be a favourite of many of the other drivers, and I hope that we put on a good show. See you guys on the track.
Well, hello everyone and welcome back to the Porsche Esports Carrera Cup Great Britain. There was our track guide once again. We're getting ourselves all set for race number 2 of the afternoon. It was an emphatic race win for Sebastian Job in race 1. Thanks to the reverse grid, he will start now from P6. And of course, it's Jack Sedgwick that is in the very fortunate position of starting in the reverse grid pole position. But before we go over the starting grid, let's just have another little bit of a look at our drivers, all racing from home, of course, behind their various sim rigs, one even sideways, which you absolutely love to see. Yeah, just getting their minds in the zone. Chadwick is off somewhere, presumably. I mean, there's a 3-minute gridding time here, so I guess there's a chance to go to the toilet and then make it back in time. But yeah, it's so important for these drivers to make sure that they're in the right frame of mind here for race 2. Try and push out anything that happened in race 1 out of their minds and focus on the task at hand. But we can bring you through the starting grid then for race number 2 now. So Jack Sedgwick will start on pole position for NX Racing, and then you got Matt Emery starting on the front row as well. Will Chadwick will start from 3rd. It's important for him to pass those 2 ahead if he wants to try and minimise the points delta, or rather maximise the points delta back to Sebastian Job, who's starting a little bit further back. You got Leo Garibaldi in P4. That's our top placed AM starter here for the moment. And then we have Jamie Moon in P5. Sebastian Job, like I already mentioned, he's starting in 6th place due to the reverse grid. Then you have a little bit of a look outside of the top 6. You look at drivers such as Josh Malin, who's starting in P7, with Ollie Peacock in P8. Then you've got Gareth Higgins starting in 9th place. It's important for him to capitalise on the start this time around, which he didn't do in the previous race and slid backwards just a little bit. Then you've got Leon Penn in P10, with Luke Pennington in P11, with Thomas Cope in P12. Further back through the order, you have yourselves Charles Rainford, Adam State, Scott Mokes, Jacob Urbanchik down to P16 in that order. And then you've got Craig Williams in P17 with James Parker, P18. Then you've got Jamie Rushworth in P19, Brandon Blakesley P20, and Eric Grove P21. And for those that are looking to see Eric Grove, then I have unfortunate news for you. It seems like he has still not been able to connect to the session. And in fact, Brandon Blakesley not connects to the session at the moment here as well. So that is going to be an interesting situation. Actually, Brandon Blakesley is in. I think pretty much everyone is in, so take back what I said there. Grove might be able to take the start this time around, so it's good to have him here. But we've got ourselves our grid pretty much all set at this stage, just 30 seconds away from getting the green light and getting ourselves in towards turn number 1. And just getting words that even though Eric Grove is in the session, he unfortunately is having a couple of hardware issues with his wheels. So unfortunately will not be taking the start, but watching from the sidelines instead inside the server. Just a couple of seconds away now before we get ourselves race number 2 underway here at Spa-Francorchamps. Matt Jack Cedric on pole position, of course. Will Chadwick starting in P3 on that inside. We're about to go again here at Spa-Francorchamps. Who's going to get the good start? Who's going to bog down? Well, I can tell you who's going to do the latter. It's Matt Emery. He's found himself in the middle now, 3 wide for P2, in towards turn number 1, getting a bit of deja vu from what happened there in race number 1. But they're able to get through relatively unscathed here. They're leaning on each other, though, on the way down the hill in towards Eau Rouge and Radion for the first time. Chadwick will secede the position, doesn't want to go too wide through there, and I don't blame him whatsoever. Going to have to look for the run in the slipstream instead, up in towards the Kemmel Straight, and then look to the braking zone in towards Lacombe. Sebastian Job there, of course, on the outside looking in. He's already gotten past one driver. Now he's looking to try and get past Leo Gariboli as well. Excuse me, that's Jamie Moon looking to try and get past Leo Gariboli. There's a little bit of confusion in the middle corner. Moon in the wall. Moon in the tyre barriers there at the exit. Lacombe able to rejoin back onto the circuit. That's a free position as far as Sebastian Job is concerned, and now he's definitely the one down the inside of Leo Gariboli there through Bruxelles, and an easy position gained by a championship leader in the pro class.
And he's got his championship rival right in front of him right now in Will Chadwick. And if you're Sebastian Job, that's all you need to do. You just need to just shadow that driver in front of you. Oh, running wide there. That's Leon Penn dropping down the order. Slots back in, so nicely done. Doesn't lose too many places. But Sebastian right now is in the spot that he needs to be in. Just shadow your championship rival in front of you. You're going to be outscoring him for the week. So that's going to be really good going. But that isn't in Sebastian's nature, is it? He wants to win, and he can see Jack Cedric just pulling away at the front.
Yeah, Cedric's doing a pretty good job in pulling away here, actually, up to just over a second back to P2 here for the moment. So looking very, very good for Cedric, trying to repeat what Job did in race 1 with breaking the slipstream that early on in the event. Coming towards the end of the first lap, though, you can see them strung out single file as they negotiate the bus stop for the first time in this particular race. A little bit of a situation further back, though. Adam States and his Olympus Esports car involved in that as well. That's Thomas Cope. A little bit of tyre smoke coming out through the corners there as well. In towards last source once again. A bit of side-by-side action further back. Cope and States still going at it wheel to wheel. That's for P11 overall between the AM and the pro driver.
Merckx was facing the wrong way as well through the chicane, so he's dropped back to 20th out of all of this. So yeah, these drivers getting a little bit strung out now. Emery's still got the slipstream, but look at this run that Chadwick's got now to the inside up at Lacombe, and he's going to get that move, or is he? Because he can hang it around the outside here.
Yeah, and Emery's done that pretty well, actually. Careful of tracking out as he gives a little bit of a squeeze there to the Altus Esports car. But he's caught offline for Malmedy. Now look at the defense immediately from Chadwick, because Job was right in through on that one. Now Job is going to look to the outside here on that Altus Esports car. Not going to find any progress around there. Going to get a bit of a run off the corner, but not the one that's usable in towards Speaker's corner. But Chadwick's messed that one up very, very slightly further up through this line, as there were positions being challenged for further back through the train. But you could see Job almost pounced on that one immediately when he saw those two ahead fighting.
Oh, Sebastian knew exactly what he was doing there. He could see those two were going to slow each other up through Lecombe and Malmedy, and that set him up nicely to get the run out of Malmedy to try and get both positions. Only got one of them, but again, he's just shadowing his championship rival right now. That's all he needs to do at this point in time here today. Just shadow him, get himself some good points, and outscore Will Chadwick in terms of the championship this week.
And we know that Sebastian Job in clear air has a couple of tenths of a second a lap over some of these drivers. So it's not a worry at the moment that he's still behind Chadwick. It's Chadwick that's the driver that has to step up now at this stage. Try and keep Job behind, potentially look at trying to close the gap to Cedric as well, maybe get Cedric involved, so then potentially Job has to deal with him as well in terms of trying to work his way through. So that's the situation there. And you've got the battle for the AM class lead as well. That's Garibaldi and Higgins, about half a second apart from each other here for the moment as well. So that's an interesting situation there. Garibaldi not having the most ideal of starts, and now Higgins is all over the back of him.
I'll tell you what, behind those two in Charles Rainford, he has been on an absolute charge at the start of this race, plus 5 places. Jakob Urbanchik as well. He's up 5 places in this race. As Job to the inside. Chadwick said that he hasn't had the pace around here this week, and Job made that look a little bit easy.
Yeah, it wasn't the most ideal run through Eau Rouge and Radion for Chadwick. That just compromised him through the entire length of the Camel Straight, and it really, really hurts when you don't get that, particularly that second phase of Eau Rouge and Radion right, because you're really paying for it down the entire straight. Chadwick finding out the hard way in that one. There's the battle for P10 here at the moment. Cope, Moon, Urbanchik, Pennington all involved in this one. Craig Williams as well in the distinctive Craig Setup Shop livery with the orange front, the white on the back. You recognise that car anywhere, wouldn't you?
I think it's distinctly better now that it doesn't have his face on the side of it, but that's besides the point. But no, it is a distinctive livery that everybody knows. Here's what happened on the end of lap 1 then to Scott Merckx then. He was down the inside at the chicane and just attacked from behind. Whoa. I think it was Brendan Blakesley who got into the back of him.
Yeah, it might have been. Let's take another look at it with the shot from up above. There was a look down the inside there, and that was, well, further ahead than what that battle was. A little bit of commotion there in towards the bus stop at the end of the very first lap. We did see the puff of tyre smoke on the live pictures, of course, but that's what caused it. Now we have a look up towards the number 75 car. That's Jamie Moon. And behind, you might have a change for position on, because there was a lunge there from Luke Pennington up against Urbanchik, and now here comes Craig Williams as well, who's looking to try to apply the pressure to the both of them, but he's actually compromised his own line coming off the corner here, which is not ideal. Might be under threat from Ollie Peacock in towards the hairpin. And there we go. There's the opportunity for Ollie Peacock in the ETRS Esports car. Oh, Apex. Oh, excuse me.
That was a big, big drift from Urbanchik on the corner exit of La Source. That'll compromise him down the hill, but my goodness, how he held on to that, I don't know. Oh, Williams! My goodness, well, that's not going to end well for Williams. I think we're going to see the steaming pile of a car. There it is.
That takes the tow back to pit lane, and that's why I'm afraid you don't go too wide in towards Eau Rouge and Radion there, as there was yet more confusion out there. That's how replay of the race starts. where we saw Moon going out in towards the wall. And now we have a look back towards the incident that literally just happened. Craig Williams, finding out quickly why you don't go side by side through Rouge and Radion. Granted, there was a bit of action at a distance there, a little bit of space between the two cars, but that's just sim racing sometimes. But I still wouldn't run the risk, right?
I mean, he knew that was going for the wall, and I bet he's just let go of the wheel and said, "Wall, embrace me, please." Yeah, that's a real heartbreak though for Craig Williams. He was putting on the move, and I mean, I've done that move a few times myself in touring cars, where basically I've taken a brave pill, gone alongside, and you're just hoping for cooperation from the car alongside you, and even then, if you both cooperate, you can still end up in the wall. So it's a very, very difficult place to go side by side with. Higgins now still second place in AM, 7th place overall. He's just losing touch with Garibaldi here, isn't he?
Just a bit, yeah. He did some fantastic work in terms of trying to close up that gap at the very start of the race, but it seems like things have just started to switch the other way, though. Try and get the maximum braking performance possible out of the bus stop there to try and at least do something about the gap. He's still feeling the effects of the slipstream though, so I wouldn't count him out here just yet, especially if that pack directly ahead starts to have a little bit of a fight. Back to the race leader though, we haven't talked about him all that much, Jack Sedgwick being caught by Sebastian Job by quite a significant margin. Now 7/10 of a second behind is Sebastian Job. Let's see how hard Jack fights this one.
He caught up nearly 8/10 of a second on that last lap alone, did Sebastian. So a couple of purple sectors for Sebastian. He is on a charge right now. He wants to win this race. He wants to get back to being doubles here, as Matt Emery in the background of that shot was going defensive into Lecombe from, I believe that's Josh Malin, it is.
Oh, and a switch back there from Malin, an attempt around the outside, a little bit of a slide through through Malmedy for Emery, will compromise his run down in towards Bruxelles. Malin still applying the pressure at this stage, following closely up against that rear bumper. I think there might have been a problem for Urbanchik though, as he started to fall down the order quite significantly there. So that's going to affect the AM standings, the AM order towards those positions there. We might get a replay of exactly what happened here, but yeah, it's a fantastic fight for Emery, for Malin, for Garibaldi as well. But here's what happens to Urbanchik.
So it's down the inside, lock of the brakes, and Urbanchik is just minding his own business, and then bang from behind. Thank you very much. Exit stage left.
A bit of an unceremonious way to be punted out in towards the grass in the runoff area. Still running though. Still out there, still logging laps, albeit quite significantly down on everyone else. He's down in towards P18 here for the moment, about a second behind his next competitor. Back to the race lead though, Sebastian Job versus Jack Sedgwick. That's what we have on our screens right now. We're on the nose cam of the Red Bull Racing Esports driver as he takes a measured approach to this potential pass for the race lead.
Malin. Oh, Malin's been turned!
Oh!
He was battling with Emery and he's been collected now. Who was that hit him? I think it was Leon Penn. Dead on the nose. Across the line they go. And yes, it was Penn who hit him.
Yep, it was. And Penn immediately into a battle. You can see it coming through Lecombe there as well. Rather, the source there. Charles Rainford squeaking by. Perhaps being a bit physical through the exit of the corner as well. Penn's not going to appreciate that. We're going to get side by side in towards Eau Rouge and Radion again. This time they're able to make it work. The overlap wasn't there into the corner to cause too many problems, but Rainford's run has been compromised. And he's trying to get a push from Jamie Moon here, but I don't think that's going to be enough to try and secure the positions ahead of Thomas Cope here. Cope trying to get himself, he's going to get himself completely boxed in here as we go 3 wide in towards Lecombe with Jamie Moon on the inside, recovering from that lap 1 incident. Of course, Penn has to try and take the escape across the shortcut and get the slowdown penalty and lose a couple of spots in the process as well.
Rainford has massive damage on the front of his car, so he'll be a sitting duck down the straights. Change of leader as well by half a second now. It was up into Lecombe. Sebastian Job over Jack Sedgwick. Let's have a look at all this craziness. So this is where it all starts. Josh Malin and Matt Emery. I think that's 6 of one, half a dozen of the other there. Then Leon Penn gets hit, which Rainford gets into the back of Penn. So that's why both of those have significant damage to their cars. And then it's all basically try to duke it out up the Camel Straight. And yeah, it all got a bit dicey there.
Yeah, it really did. We could have had a repeat of the Craig Williams situation there if that had gone a different way in towards Eau Rouge, but thankfully for both of those drivers involved, they were able to get through that and not have a catastrophic incident through a very dangerous portion of the racetrack. There was the 3 wides there with Moon down the inside, making it work. And unfortunately, in the process, Leon Penn was kind of shoved out wide a little bit there.
Yeah, when you're 3 wide going into Lecombe and you're on the outside, oh, big sideways wiggle then from Will Chadwick getting the power down. Yeah, once you get on the outside there of a 3 wide situation, then basically that's what happens there. We've got a car that's taken a tow back to the pits. It's Josh Malin. So something's happened to Josh at the end of the lap.
Yeah, that's an interesting one because I don't think he was in any active fight, and he's just taken the tow back to the pit lane. He did have damage to the front end, remember, but we'll have to wait and see. We're being told by our producer that it's a good one. So give it a second and we'll see it on the replay. So here's Josh Malin then. No one around him really, at least within the car length or so. Let's see what the exit's like. Oh. And
that's it. Yeah, just gets out of it, just immediately takes the tow and says, yeah, realises that it's not happening for him today, and that's the end of his race.
Yeah, that's more of an exit the sim than it is a tow back to the pit lane there. And in fact, the Josh Malin has manually disconnected. Did flash up in the status messages. So yeah, that's Malin completely just calling it a day and gonna not think about this race past this point. But yeah, it's a big shame because it's a solo car incident. Yes, he did have damage on the front end. Yes, that might have affected the balance of that car coming through there. But to spin up the tyres the way he did, yeah, that's it's unfortunate seeing solo car incidents, especially at the pretty high level that we're at.
Yeah, I think I was just getting a little bit impatient on the loud pedal after getting flustered a little bit through instance of not necessarily your own making there. And of course, he had that spin from being turned at the chicane the previous lap, and that puts more heat through your tyres. Now, anybody who's used iRacing knows that it's very difficult to get those tyre temperatures back down to a usable temperature. So when you come into this corner and get on the power, you've not got the grip that you would normally have if the temperatures are still too high on those tyre temperatures. So that's why he would have maybe gone around and, yeah, thank you very much. See you, goodbye.
Here's one. It was a relatively poor lap there from Sebastian Job. Jack Sedgwick was actually able to match him almost exactly there on that previous lap there. So again, Sebastian Job, not infallible, but we're criticising him for doing a lap time that the rest of the field is doing, or at least hope to do. So it's not really a criticism in that respect. There's the battle for P4, and we might see an active battle for P2. And in fact, you can see at the very bottom of your screen there, Chadwick going to be trying to get past Sedgwick and in towards Lecombe. And there's the cutback available, climbing up all over the curb. Can Chadwick maintain the overlap in towards Malmedy? Yes, he can. There's a bit of door barging as it sends Sedgwick out into the gravel. But it is the position gains there for Will Chadwick.
I would be giving that position back if I was Will. Oh, there's a bit more of a squeeze. That's at Rainford getting involved there. Yeah, I think it was a little bit rude on corner exit, and Will, I would have just given the place back to heed any potential stewards decision there. Because Sedgwick can get the run around the outside there and can hold on to the place by running around the outside of Malmedy, and that is Luke Pennington, your third place AM driver in the championship coming into this week. He's not had a good round this week.
I don't think there was anyone around him either. So we might be looking at another solo car incident here. Let's see what happens in towards Speaker's corner. Yeah, it is. Back end just got away from him.
Carrying too much speed into Speaker's corner. Fortunately for him, though, kept the car out the wall, which is crucial with these cars.
Which is what Josh Malin didn't do in his particular spin coming out of the bus stop. So just going to have to take a bit of a bruised ego and a couple of positions lost in that sense. But 6.5 minutes left to go. You still got this battle going on, of course, with involving Matt Emery right in the middle of these two. Garibaldi ahead, Gareth Higgins behind. It's a pro driver that splits the two top AM drivers.
We've got a pro sandwich right there. Two AMs being the bread, and around they go through turn number 1. But Garibaldi's doing a very good job. He's right where he started. He did drop back to 6th place earlier on in this race, but has now moved back up into 4th as Leo, so another good race so far, but Higgins will be wanting to try and get one over him to try and negate the win that Leo got in race 1, and here comes Matt Emery to look to make a move, and Garibaldi knows how important this is to hold on.
Taking the middle of the road on the defense in towards Lacombe. Allows him to not to have too much of a compromise line through these apexes here, because there's always a danger if you hug the inside too much there that you're going to completely bottle it through the exit of the first apex, trying to readjust into the second apex, and all of a sudden you've got a driver on the outside that's looking to capitalize on it. So got to be very, very careful there, but Garibaldi able to negotiate that situation quite handily. And of course, you got Gareth Higgins on the outside of this one, looking in just as a little bit of a spectator here at the moment, as Emery was the one that had the look on Garibaldi. Gonna have keep an eye on race lead situation. Of course, we're not expecting it to change because, of course, we know how much clear air pace that Sebastian Job has. But Chadwick is just in a position where, just in case Job makes a mistake, he is there to capitalise, but nothing more.
I think it's a tall order for Will right now. I think with the pace that Sebastian has shown this week in this series, he's just on another level. I mean, we saw him practically half a second there or thereabouts faster in qualifying than anybody else here at Spa. He's got a handle of that car, even though it is a fixed setup for everyone, and this setup hasn't changed for a number of weeks, so it's not perfect for Spa. It is a compromise as this setup, and drivers have to drive around that, and that's where you do see that driver ability, that driver skill really come to the fore. It's drivers like Sebastian Job and Will Chadwick and Jack Sedgwick as well who have really shown that you can drive around where that car maybe isn't perfectly set up.
Yeah, for example, here at Spa-Francorchamps, you probably don't want to have as much wing on that car, on that baseline setup, as you would in a normal setup for Spa-Francorchamps. You want to probably trim that out, but there's a bit of a battle going on though down in towards La Source. That's James Parker on the outside of Urbanchik there. Urbanchik through in the 13th position there, and he actually, he started that move all the way back at the bus stop there, so that was a long time coming there for Urbanchik to be able to make that one happen. He's not safe though in the battle for P13, as Parker will attempt to get a run off the top of Radion and utilise the slipstream all the way down the Kemmel Straight to be able to open up a move down in towards the Coombe. Urbanchik feeling the need to go defensive to the middle of the road. There's a big commitment around the outside for Parker though. Can't maintain the overlap by the second apex, and Blakesley now on the back bumper in the number 77. So straight from offense to defense for Parker.
And the problem for Parker is actually, I think he was a little bit too close going into a Rouge Radial. You need about a 0.2 of a second gap between yourself and the car in front just to give you that run up the hill, because if you're too close you have to just check up, because there is only one line on corner exit. at the top of the hill. And so therefore you just have to get out of the throttle just that little bit, and it then costs you that time all the way up the Kemmel Straight, and it is up as well. People don't appreciate just how steep that hill is up the Kemmel Straight. It looks relatively flat, but certainly it is a hill. I know from bitter experience just how steep the circuit is.
Yeah, I haven't been to Spa-Francorchamps in the real world, I would say yet, because I do want to go at some point. So soon my legs will experience the hills of Spa-Francorchamps. It's just a matter of how soon. But yeah, definitely the elevation changes here are kind of a bit underrated. The elevation changes are in general underestimated. So it's great when a racetrack has them in a sort of old school style. But we've got ourselves on to the final lap. Sebastian Job 2.8 now ahead of Will Chadwick. So yeah, definitely not holding out any hope here for Chadwick to be able to do anything. So it looks like it's going to be a perfect day for the Oracle Red Bull Racing Esports driver. It's I don't know what else am I meant to say there, Paul? What else am I meant to say?
Well, what you meant to say is, can Will Chadwick actually hold on to second place, because Cedric has got a great bit of slipstream, and Chadwick's having to go defensive here. Cedric smells second place, not quite happening, but we've seen how good Cedric is through this section.
We have, and look at that, those planted right up against the rear of that 992 ahead, the Altus Esports number 88. Now for Bruxelles as well. Remember, this is the final lap here between these two, and pro points on offer. In particular for Cedric, who's had an absolutely fantastic race day so far. Look at how far wide that Chadwick went through Speaker's Corner there. Maybe has a 1x to use to try and keep this position under lock and key. But for Cedric, for P4 in terms of the Pro Championship at the moment, this is looking like a pretty good gain indeed, especially gaining points over Emery in this particular event as well. But we've just got, well, coming up to around about a sector to go, and, well, I will say here, Paul, Chadwick's definitely using some spare 1Xs.
Oh yeah, he's using them all up. he's using every bit of track and then some. I don't approve, Will, you know what I think, but yeah, certainly Chadwick is holding on, and it's going to be a lunge down into the bus stop for Cedric, but I think he's too far back right about now.
Yeah, he absolutely is. So it looks like it's the inevitable in terms of Sebastian Job here at the moment. An absolutely perfect day for the Oracle Red Bull Racing Esports driver. The Pro Championship leader extends his advantage by a significant margin here at Spa-Francorchamps with another race win, double race win for Sebastian Job. Fantastic effort indeed. Chadwick second place, did hold off the hard charging Jack Cedric, and then of course you got Leo Garibaldi taking the AM class win as well. For Sebastian Job though, that's the third double race win he's had this season. Everyone else heading their way across the line. Of course, there were a couple of unsolved AM battles further back through the order there, but here's the unofficial order. Sebastian Job 4 seconds back to Chadwick. I mean, it just goes to show how much Sebastian Job had left in the tank. If he needed to try and defend and try and push, then I dread to see what sort of lap times he would have been able to pull out of the bag. So I don't think you even saw everything from him today. Then you've got Will Chadwick in P2. We've got Jack Cedric in P3 with a well-deserved podium considering all the fights that he's been in over the course of today. Leo Garibaldi there getting a crucial points difference back to Gareth Higgins there, finishing in P4. Just one place ahead, remember, in terms of the AM standings, because they're two separate point structures going on there. So that means that the battle for the lead in terms of the AM Championship looking just a little bit closer, certainly much closer than what the pro standings are at the moment. Matt Emery finishing in P5 with Gareth Higgins in P6. Jamie Moon, a decent recovery drive there after those issues on lap 1. He finishes in P7. Then you've got Thomas Cope in P8, Leon Penn and Ollie Peacock rounding out the top 10 drivers overall. Then you got Charles Rainford there, our guest driver, having a decent race too in P11 with Jamie Rushworth in P12. Jacob Urbanczyk has been a bit of a punching bag here today, both throwing the punches and receiving them in P13 there with Brandon Blakesley in P14. James Parker P15, Adam States, Scott Mokes, Luke Pennington ran out the top 18. And you've got Josh Malin and Craig Williams running out the top 20. And then, of course, we did not see Eric Grove take the start in either of the two races here today due to a technical issue. So that's the run, top to bottom. Of course, stewards will be looking at incidents over the course of the two races that we've had this afternoon to try and make some decisions, apply penalties where appropriate. However, we do have a driver looking to try and get himself an interview. Paul, you're standing by with the second place finisher here in this race too. It's Will Chadwick.
Well, Will, you were getting the racing driver excuses in very early this week, saying that you'd not had much time to practice. But, I mean, sum up that day, you know, the first race, you finish a little bit further down the order than you would have liked in terms of the championship. But that second race, you really had to work for that second place, didn't you?
Yeah, so firstly I will say happy birthday to my mum for last week. That's why I was away all week. We were having a nice time in London. So I came back with not loads of time of practice, but really qualifying was the real sticking point. I messed up my first lap and it just made me nervous for my second because of you get so little chances around here, and I thought if I off track it I'm last or wherever I would be. So I was really cautious and it really did end up costing me quite a lot of time. This race, just tried to keep out the way of things, fight through. I knew I didn't have to pass Leo, and I was originally going to just sit, I think it was P5 at the time. The only person I was really interested in passing at the time was Matt, who was in third in the championship. So I was just going to kind of sit behind Leo unless he got a chance on Matt. But it turned out Matt had an issue in braking, and we were able to get past him. Race 2 was decent. I always enjoy racing with Jack. Not sure. I think we had a little bit of contact on lap 8. I tried my best to leave him as much room as possible, and I think he did too. It was just unlucky. But yeah, it's a good race with him because he's very fast this week and has been for the entire championship.
We're sort of winding down the championship. We've just got 3 race weekends remaining, then Silverstone next on the national circuit, and then Donington Park and Brands Hatch to finish off. I mean, how are you seeing things? It's going to be tough to beat Sebastian now, isn't it?
Well, I think we saw here last year in Pesk, we saw how good Seb was. I'm pretty sure he broke the draft in the World Championship at Spa. So I was always expecting a tough day, especially with the practice that I've got. Going into Silverstone National, you know, it's a shorter track. It's quicker to learn. I can get some more hours in. I'm sure I'll give it a good go. But yeah, I don't expect to beat Sebi in this championship. And for me, it's really making sure that P2 is secure. But, you know, I'll give it a go. I still need to beat him in a race, on track to win a race. So that'd be nice.
Well, we'll let you get away and have a good afternoon for yourself. But thank you very much for joining us here today.
Thank you very much, Peter. Thank you very much, Connery. Thank you very much, Ard.
Peter?
Well, Peter. Apparently, Peter Mackay has been commentating.
I meant Paul.
So there we go. That's wow. I'm shocked. I don't have a Scottish accent, that's for sure. But we will speak next to Gareth Higgins, who, of course, has been really fighting for the places in AM. Well, Gareth, I mean, you weren't able to quite beat Leo this time out in the racing, but still some really good results for you. Second place in AM in both races.
Yeah. Honestly, I'm a little disappointed that I never really had a chance to race him. I had like one half move, but that was all I could try today. But it's still good results, definitely.
Well, that's it. I mean, you know, you've been the man on form in terms of AM, getting those 4 wins in a row. 2 second places, you know, that's nothing to sniff about either. We head on to Silverstone National. That's another really slipstream track, isn't it? Quite a short lap. You're talking under a minute, aren't you? So, yeah, how are you finding it going there?
I guess it's similar to Brands Indy in a way with qualifying, with how close it's going to be. And I remember there, like, I just didn't get a great time in. I think I was like 5/10 off, but I was like 3rd last, which is how close it can be, especially at these short tracks with like, what, 4 corners. So it's a layout I haven't driven, but you know, we've got good time to prep for it. So I'm hoping I can fight back and get a couple wins.
Well, Gareth, we'll wish you all the best for next time out, but still really good 2 podium results in the AM category today.
Thank you. Thank you.
So that was Gareth Higgins, and now we'll speak to the man that we spoke to between the races, Leo Gariboli. I mean, Leo, that's 2 AM race wins, a 3rd place and a 4th place overall. You must be delighted with that.
Yeah, it's a lot better. Like I said, it's a lot better than the last couple. I mean, I was thinking about it when I was saying that they'd just gone better than the last few races. I felt good for the Snetterton round. I just got caught up in a little bad luck. So to kind of have a bit of damage limitation and be able to be back on the top, it's pretty good, I think.
And you know, we've been looking at the championships, not just in the Pro but in the AM as well. I mean, that will really help you out in the AM championship. You've got 3 more weeks to go in that series. How are you feeling going into that final portion of the season?
Well, I feel like I've gotten past my worst tracks. I mean, I knew I was going to do bad in Snetterton because I just didn't feel very good there. I knew I wasn't going to do very well in Alton because I can't feel the car's doing, I'll be honest. But the rest of the rounds I felt okay on, and all the tracks from now on I feel good on, so it should be good for me.
Well, Leo, we'll let you get away, but well done. Congratulations on the 2 AM wins here today.
Thank you very much. Thank you to sponsors again, and Cameron, and PGZ.
There we go. That's Leo getting all the again, not thanking the sponsors by name, just thanking them anyway. But why not?
I mean, I guess if it works, it's fine. I'm sure they don't mind. But yeah, I mean, this was a day that Leo in particular really needed, you know, because of course he lost the AM Championship lead to Higgins, who was able to get four AM wins on the bounce. It felt like in that situation there, and indeed it was coming up to today. So this is going to inspire a little bit more confidence, at least in terms of his racing coming into the back end of the season now. Just like, no, he hasn't completely lost it. Still got the pace, still is able to finish ahead of Higgins. So that makes things pretty exciting, actually, heading in towards Silverstone National, which will be our next round.
Yeah, I mean, I touched on it there in those interviews. It is a slipstreaming track as Silverstone National. Yeah, absolutely right. We've only got about 4 corners to think about. There's only something like 3 braking zones to worry about around that track. So it's going to be fast and frenetic action. And I cannot wait for 2 weeks' time.
I can't wait either, of course. You know, it does also mean starting on the quote-unquote old pit straight, which is the national pits, as it's called now, and that means our turn 1 will be Copse Corner. So that's always an interesting predicament, but there are the details if you want to join us for that one on March the 26th. At the same time, same place. So it's at 2 p.m. GMT. And of course, we are quickly coming up towards around about that time of year where the clocks actually change. So we do have to keep on top of that as well here in the UK. But with that, with proceedings here at Spa-Francorchamps, we will have to bring it to a close. My name's been Conry Maddock. I've been joined by the wonderful Paul Smith. Shout-outs to Arjuna Kankapati on the cameras and the production as well. We'll see you in a couple of weeks' time when we head back to the UK and back to the home of British motorsport.